welcome back to another episode of Living Life After Life. Before I get started with what I want to do today, I wanted to explain to y'all the narrative for the last video that I did when I was talking about having a relationship outside of the relationship with Timothy and breaking his heart. I guess I didn't explain it right because a lot of people were confused thinking that Timmy was married the whole time that I had the relationship with him, and that wasn't so. What had happened was while I was gone for that 29 to 30 days after I was trying to work things out with Timothy, he had got married to the other woman during that short amount of time. Remember, I explained that his son, who's in Africa, called him and was crying, saying he wanted to be with him. So Africans can gain their citizenship by marrying someone who's American. So after he spoke to his friend about it, he thought I was gone for good. So he married this woman. And when I called him that day to get my things from his house, they had only been married 6 days. So that's when he explained to her that I was the 22-year-old girl who wouldn't leave him alone and all kinds of things like that. And I kept explaining that he was trying to prove himself to me that I was the woman that he loved, because that was the situation. He had married her in a month's time. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up real quick. But what I want to do today is have a prison relationship Q&A. I asked my friends and family to come up with some questions that they would like for me to answer. And I got Timothy's response on a couple of them, and I'll save them for last. So I'll do the ones that people asked of me first, okay? All right, so Tina wants to know, after knowing Timothy for so long, why haven't you two married already? All right, so when I came back to Timothy after the 10 years, we had talked about getting married, and I was willing to go with it, at first until I learned how they actually did the ceremony. So what would have happened, I'd have went to the visiting room, most likely during visits, had a 2 to 3 minute ceremony, and then had to take my tail home. Okay, now, when I thought about that, I didn't think that that would have been good for me emotionally. That is not what I envisioned for myself, marrying him. So I said no to that. So, after he comes home, we're going to have a big lavish wedding and all of that. So, but no, not to get married in there. Not knocking anyone who has done it, but it wasn't for me, okay? All right, Ada would like to know, what type of mind frame will you be in once Timothy is released? All right, so naturally I'm going to be ecstatic with him coming home, but I am going to be a little nervous at first, probably during the first week, because we have to get used to being around each other. All this time I've just been by myself. So I haven't been in that type of atmosphere where I'm living with someone, living with a man, and all of the things that we do as wives. I haven't done that in a while, so I would have to get used to that. I'll have to get acclimated to him being back in the house. And then I think after we set a routine for ourselves and, step into our roles, I'll be okay. So, but I have to be honest and say I will be a little nervous at first. All right, so Samantha would like to know, what are your plans and life goals as a couple? All right, so Timothy keeps a journal of all of the things that he would like to do once he comes home. So he always speaks about us stepping into the role that our parents and grandparents had back in the day. We don't have any male figures in our family that's left. So, those roles that they left abandoned when they left, he wants to step into that role as the male figure in the family. He always talks about, going to grandfather-daughter dances with the grandkids. He talks about, just having those get-togethers, those Sunday dinners, traveling, and doing things with the family. He has things set up with the grandkids already, dance competitions, basketball competition, checkers competitions, that everyone is looking forward to. And he talks about that a lot. Us as a couple, we would like to travel, spend that quality time together. But most of all, we would like to give back to the community as a couple. He does a lot of mentoring where he is now, but we have spoken about a nonprofit that we would like to get started where we have it's reminiscent of the Big Brother Little Brother program from back in the day, and we're going to have ex-prisoners who come together and mentor young boys between the ages of 10 to maybe 16, 17, where they're going to have sports events, go to games, go hiking, take different trips to amusement parks and do things together, play sports and things like that, to try to do things the opposite of the Scared Straight program, but, do it in a positive way, and that would allow the ex-prisoners to give back to the community. So we've spoken about that, and that's something that we're really looking forward to. Okay, so Nicole would like to know, how do you go without sex for so long? Okay, I guess it was just something that I just didn't think about. I would just go throughout my day. Now, sometimes, you just can't help it. Like I explained in other videos, you could be watching TV and you just get turned on so easily because you haven't done it in so long. So, but I just try not to think about it. And like I said, when it became too bad, Timothy and I would engage in phone sex, okay? I asked the question of him, and I won't go into, too much detail of what he said, but basically he just said his left arm is 10 times stronger than his right. Okay. So you can use your imagination on that one. All right, so Shakia had a great question, and it was, would you still be with him if there was no chance of him coming home? And I would have to say yes to that. Timothy and I, we just have so many years together, and I just couldn't imagine my life without him. I asked him this question. I reversed it and asked him, would he want me to move on if this was the case? And he had said no. So I said, well, don't you think that's a little selfish? And he agreed that it would be a little selfish, but he said it's something that he really can't think about. But if he ever found himself in that situation, no, he would not want me to go, even if he had to face the reality that I was, seeing other people or something like that. So, Christopher would like to know, how are you making this long distance relationship work? And, I'll just combine our answers. I had said, great communication. And he said trust, knowing that, that person loves and care about you and, won't be doing things behind your back and, things like that, that this person is really willing to really want this relationship and is willing to work on having this relationship with you, so just trusting that and having that great communication is how we're making our long distance relationship work. All right, so Chantel wants to know, she says you two haven't really dealt with stress outside of the institution, just talking on the phone. She said talking on the phone and actually living the life you talked about are completely, two different things. So will you date when he comes home and continue to build, or will you marry right away? All right, so people have it misconstrued because, him and I have gone through stressful situations together. And he likes to compare it to someone in the military. So it's basically the same. Him and I have dealt with death, of parents, of loved ones that are close to us. Both of us have been in situations, financial situations and things like that. It's a lot of things that him and I have worked on together. Timothy lives his life like he's on the outside. He just doesn't have access to the outside. So he has a job. He has religious services that he attends, that he is in charge of. He has situations that are stressful for him, and we work through those together. So I guess it would be no different than how it will be once he comes home. In our minds, we are already married. So we deal with things accordingly as a couple. All right, so Kim wants to know, how many other women do you know of that became involved with prisoners, and why do you think it happened? All right, so I know a lot of women who have become involved with prisoners when they were COs. And I think it happened because we're human, and just like in a situation where you work every day, you spend 8 hours with your coworkers and you get to know them, on a more personal level. I think it's like that. A lot of us that became COs, we were there for years, and over time you get to know the prisoners, on a more personal level, if you allowed yourself to. But I mean, I guess it's just only natural that that's what's going to happen, and that's how these relationships came to be. So but what is funny to me, and I don't judge people when I found out that they're in that situation, but I did find out a situation yesterday that blew me, because Timothy advised me that someone that I was really cool with at the jail had passed away. So I was like, well, how do you know? He said, this certain prisoner told me. I said, well, how did he know? He said, because his girlfriend, who was a CO when I was a CO, told him. And I said, you have got to be kidding, because this woman talked so badly about me. When I was in my relationship with you at the jail, she talked so badly about me. How could she possibly? I know you're lying about this. So he said, no, I've seen pictures of her. He has pictures of her. And in the picture, he says she has on, like, the vest that they wear when they outside, the reflective vest. He said she has braces, and she had her hair up in a ponytail. And I was like, no, I have to do some research on this. So I went to Facebook and I went to her page, and lo and behold, the same picture is on her page that he described. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then another instance last week, a female officer that worked there, she found that I was a CO before, and every time I went there, she used to make my life a living hell. Come to find out, she got walked out last week for having a relationship with a prisoner, after feeling it was her duty to treat me badly because she knew I used to be a CO before, and how I had left the prison under those circumstances. So you have to be careful how you treat people, because you never know or realize what type of situation you'll find yourself in eventually. I just was blown by those situations. Okay. All right. So Pam wants to know, she said, you've revealed that you've cheated on Timothy once. Do you ever wonder if he's cheated on you? And I would have to say no to that. If it is one thing about Timothy, he's very loyal, and he has, demonstrated those loyalties over and over and over again. He's been in situations where he could have easily, cheated or done things behind my back, but he has never done it. Just knowing him as a person, I really believe him when he says he haven't. But I'm going to play his response to this, okay? So you can see what he said.
I never put myself in that position. Can I say I can stop a person liking me or whatever? No, it's about you. My loyalties, it came to your hands. Everything was in the palm of your hand when it came to me and you. So I never would disrespect you like that. You say some men get weak? Absolutely. Thing is, I wasn't weakened. That's the thing. I seen you. I seen the love of my life before my eyes. So why I put myself in that position? Okay, if I chose to do that, I could have used you in so many ways, Lisa. I could have did other things too. Like I said, man, no, I love me. For some reason, man, you just love my life. When it came to me, like I told you, when you walked down the house, I seen the love of my life. you were something that I was destined to have. So I'm not going to put you in that bond situation where a person talking about or where a person say, okay, I had him or that.
Okay. The next question is from Michael, and he wants to know, what is the hardest part about coming back from this situation, referring to the cheating and the incarceration? And I'm going to play Timothy's response to that because that's pretty much, something that he would have to answer. The hardest part for me was just building that trust with Timothy again. Like I said, he was really devastated when I cheated on him, and so it meant everything to me just to be able to gain that trust from him again. So that was the hardest thing for me.
It was hard. Don't get it wrong. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, man, a person at times get lonely. I mean, a lot of things happen. And that's why I chose not to, like I say, judge that, you know what I mean? But I'm willing to fight for what I believe in, the love that I have for you. You know what I mean? One time, there ain't no problem with that. You know what I mean? It's just that it's hard, but sometimes you just got to deal with it. Did it hurt? Yes. Was I devastated? Absolutely. Because I never thought it would ever happen to me, but it happened. So from there, I mean, like I said, man, just having, like I said, open mind, a free mind. You know what I mean? When you first head, absolutely you're going to be crushed. But you're willing to work through problems, work through situations. And that's what it is. I mean, as far as the other thing, man, like, I knew, you know what I mean, when you left, you know what I mean, you didn't leave for a week, you left, man, you need to get time and get things together. But deep down inside, I knew you was going to be back. That's why I never gave nobody that you built this hard. I couldn't allow no other woman to have what you built, what you created. Like I told you, I never loved before. I loved you, period. That's why I think I couldn't allow myself to go deep that into relationships. I couldn't allow myself to do that. And I felt, so, okay, I've been violating something. I needed closure. I really needed to say, okay, was this over or whatever? I really needed that closure. I couldn't allow myself to expand without that closure.
So what's the hardest part about coming back from incarceration into society?
Everybody needs a plan. That's the most important thing. People always talk about, okay, adjusting. You got to know how to adjust. And you got to understand that I've never been a type person to get with something. See, that always been me. So if a person can't manipulate me to do this and do that, you got to have it. Your mind is your mind. Your heart is your heart. That's why a lot of times I ask brothers, man, why you come back? You got to know you got an excuse. There's no excuse. You're supposed to have a plan.
So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, comment if you like, and subscribe to my channel for future videos, okay? And until I talk to you again, do your best to try to live your best life, okay? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.